Welcome back to the Bonsai Builders Podcast. I'm your host, Addison Galambos. If you've been looking closely, there's been a little bit of a change in the winds in the Oakland area, in the Greater Bay Area over the last few years. And to me, a lot of that is driven by one person. I'm actually over at his house right now, working on some junipers, and wanted to do a podcast episode with the great, the illustrious Adam Toth. Adam, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you, Addison. I appreciate it.
I'm really serious about, to me, like from the club scene and working within the East Bay Club, for example, I've noticed a noticeable step up in the quality of trees over the last few years, and the common kind of denominator for a lot of those people is they've been working with you. I don't know if you've kind of seen that shift or think that that is also happening, but
I think there's a lot that goes into it. I don't think it's just one person or one thing. I think everyone is doing really great, and since I've been back, it seems like people are genuinely getting better and the quality has been improving overall. So, yeah. But I don't think it's just me. I think there's a lot that goes into it. I think there's a lot of great people in the area, a lot of people doing, making good material. And I think just overall, everyone is just improving.
Okay. Well, we'll have to add humble to your titles as well.
Usually not something that I'm known for.
So, okay. One thing I really want to talk to you about is your time in Japan. I think that, there have been multiple people who've gone over and done apprenticeships in Japan, right? But I don't know of another American apprentice that went to Taigas, or even a lot of foreigners who have gone to Taigas. So I think you've had a very unique experience. Yeah. So I would love to know how that happened, and then kind of dive into what that experience was like for you.
Okay, so before I knew I wanted to study there, I didn't really know where I wanted to study. I didn't know a lot of the people, I didn't know a lot of the professionals over there, or even Kimura was someone who I didn't really know a lot about. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of the culture or the gardens or anything like that, and so I didn't really have a good idea of what it was all about. So I kind of just went over there on vacation for the World Bonsai Convention. And I forget what year that was. I totally forget what year that was. But during that trip, I wanted to just travel and visit all these different places. And I kind of had a little letter of introduction, just something kind of simple and standard that I had translated into Japanese. And I visited all these different gardens. Every day I just traveled to somewhere different, and that area I visited all the bonsai gardens in that area. And I gave a few letters out to some possible nurseries that I might want to be at throughout my time there. But towards the later end of my trip, as I was heading back towards Tokyo, I stopped off at Taiga's Taisho-en, Mr. Urushibata, and once I got there, I really, really liked what everything that was happening there was, and it kind of got me excited and interested to do the apprenticeship and everything in Japan. And during my time at Taisho-en, during my first trip, the apprentice who was there, I was kind of talking to, and he was already giving me instructions, take your hands out of your pockets and stand up and put your hands behind your back, and just some small things. And I knew that's what I needed, which was somebody to kind of guide me through a lot of the cultural aspects of it. And then Taiga, took a few minutes with me, and we talked in English. His English is pretty good. And, he kind of gave me a rundown just to see, who I was and what I was about. From that moment that I was at that garden, I knew I wanted to study there. It was, everything that was interesting to me and that I wanted to learn. A lot of small trees, big trees, conifer, deciduous, finished trees, unfinished trees, just a little bit of everything. And, it was just exactly what I was looking for. And so from that moment on, I kind of just had that in my sights. And while I was waiting, I talked to Bjorn ahead of time, told him that I might be interested in studying somewhere. A position opened up at Kokain but I kind of had my heart set on Taisho-en at that point. So yeah, really once I figured out where I wanted to be, like that was it, you know.
You were kind of honed in.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I came home from that trip and I started getting my things in order. And then a year later, you know, I contacted Taiga back and just said, hey, you know, I'm still interested. I want to do this. Like, I'm ready. And he said, okay, come over. And then, you know, spend a little bit of time here. I spent 3 months there as a little kind of trial. And, yeah, it's kind of, that was it from then.
Oh, that's so cool. So, okay, so you went to Japan during the World Bonsai Convention.
As a, you know,
as a perspective, you were scoping it out for apprenticeships.
And also traveling and visiting and kind of 2-in-1 kind of thing.
I heard that show was one of the best in recent memory. Everybody hypes it up. So, did you have that experience being there? Were you? Well,
that was my first Japanese bonsai experience. So
pretty good then, right?
I didn't have a lot to compare, but I know that it was very special. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So what was your experience before? You had some bonsai experience before going to Japan that first time?
I mean, you know, I was interested in bonsai for a few years prior, and I did some learning with, you know, a few people, a few clubs, and kind of just hopped around. And then actually, right when Jonas, Bonsai Tonight, just started his bonsai business full time, that's when I met Jonas, and it kind of worked out for the both of us, for me to learn and for him to get some help around his place while he was just like, you know,
getting started.
Yeah, exactly. And so I worked with Jonas, you know, for a few years before I went to Japan for the apprenticeship.
Oh, super cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of serendipitous moments there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Taisho-en, what really captures me about it is that
because you just went.
I just there, yeah. That was my second time visiting as well.
Yeah.
Which after starting to learn with you and then going a second time was much richer experience, which was cool. And everybody there asked about you. So, but what captured me when I was there is, yes, there's a huge variety of, you know, shohin to really large trees, and then a really big diversity of species and a very specific style, as well as they're putting trees in the, you know, top shows. And you know, there's not a lot of experiences that are available for foreigners to get that same kind of apprenticeship at a garden that's putting trees in kokufu, you know?
Yeah.
Which I bet that was like a unique, you know, a draw for you as well as like a unique experience to get.
I mean, literally the first tree I worked on when I was there was a tree that was going into the kokufu. Like that was my first tree I ever worked on in Japan, was just like painting the shari on a kokufu tree. But that wasn't the sole reason, right? Because I knew that America's bonsai is not in the same place. And so I was looking at another garden where they win a lot more shows and awards and have a lot more trees that are finished, and it's a lot more geared towards the end of the process of bonsai, which is like showing and maintenance and that kind of stuff. But Taisho-en, it's not just that. Like there's a lot of building and creating and designing, and that's what I really like to do.
Yeah.
The displaying part is, you know, it's cool and all. It's the goal, it's the end result. But making trees and designing and doing.
You were already thinking that so far ahead when you were like, okay, I need to come back to the U.S. and make a business out of this. I need to be able to meet the community and the people here where they're at, as opposed to, you know, have all these great finished skills, but then have no trees to do them on.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, what was that? So you kind of got your affairs in order for a year, and then you were like, I'm ready. Well, first of all, like, what did that prep process look like? And then you get over there, you know, what does your life look like?
A lot of the prepping was like just trying to save up money because the apprenticeship, it's unpaid. And so I kind of knew that I had to have a lot of money saved up for food and all the other stuff and traveling. And so it was just like time to get my affairs in order.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Get rid of, you know, most of my things and mentally preparing.
Did you study any Japanese on your before you went over?
I tried. I really did try. I really did try, but it just was completely insufficient. It was, and so, you know, one of the requirements of doing an apprenticeship at Taisho-en is that the culture and the language is very important to them, and you know, I had to abide by their culture and their language, and so it was important that, you know, Taiga told me that it's important to, you know, study Japanese and be able to understand. And then when I got over there, I was just like completely unprepared for the languages.
Well, I'm sure you learned quickly. I mean, Taiga speaks English. Did you senpai, your like person above you?
Yeah.
Did they speak English as well?
Very, very little.
Okay,
but the whole time it was like, if they were speaking English to me, I was in serious trouble.
Okay.
So, I mean, for a long time, it was just like they would say something, and if I didn't understand it, I had to figure it out with context clues or look it up, you know, in a dictionary or a book or on my phone real quick. And if I didn't understand, then I just, gosh, what did I do? Sometimes I didn't do it. I couldn't complete a task, or I would do it wrong, and then that was a big ordeal.
I'm sure you want to block those memories out of your brain. Well, you got it eventually.
Yeah, I got it eventually, but if they were speaking English to me, it was not
good.
Not good.
Yeah, I imagine like the onboarding time. So the language, definitely a challenge, but then also you have to learn bonsai. Like, how did you feel like you were prepared to do stuff on trees when you went over, or not really?
I mean, I had a pretty good foundation, but I didn't need to know anything before I went over there. Like, they taught me everything. And so really the main thing that I lacked was just the communication skills, and that developed over time.
Did they let you know what to expect at all? Like how
really vaguely.
Okay.
Vaguely. Just like, you're going to be living here, this is where you're going to be working, we'll provide this, everything else is on you, we're going to be speaking Japanese, and that was kind of pretty much it. And yeah, he told me, you don't need to know any bonsai, we're going to teach you everything. And yeah.
What was the training process like? You know, it sounded like you were working on trees right away, but did you, was there some kind of step-by-step where they were like, oh, you know, we're going to start you with wiring on these trees and then this tree, or like, we're going to start you with shari work and lime sulfur and cleanup, and then we go to wiring, or, you know, is it just like whatever season it was, you were doing exactly what everybody else was doing?
Yeah, whatever needed to get done, I was doing a lot of, you know, cleaning and watching and helping, and every day I had some kind of project to work on. And, you know, it started easy, and then as time went on, I got to work on a little bit more difficult things. Like, you know, you hear a lot about people go over there for an apprenticeship and they don't get to touch a tree for a whole year, right? They spend the first year cleaning, but my experience was not like that. Like, the first month, you know, I had a little wiring project to work on, and I didn't have a lot of wiring experience, so it was just a little thing, you know, just to see where my skill level was at, you know. And yeah, I think there was a lot of that to start with, you know, insignificant jobs, little jobs, just to see how much I could comprehend and follow directions, and, you know, how competent I was or how skillful I was, and then it kind of just went from there.
Yeah. Did you feel like, when were you starting to like hit your stride in terms of the bonsai doing, I guess, along your 3 years? Like,
it's hard to think back. I think, you know, I'm pretty comfortable in like difficult situations, and, you know, I'm good with my hands and figuring things out. I don't know. What do you mean by that?
Well, I just meant like, you know, did you feel like it was a constant difficulty curve throughout all 3 years?
Or did you? So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were always
like
kind of like pressed to your limit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
got
always
it.
challenged.
You didn't like show
pressed.
up at one day and then it's like after 2 years and you were like, okay, I can probably do whatever they give me today, or like.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean,
you would be able to do it, but like, yeah, I guess like, how was that challenge curve over the time period?
Yeah. I mean, as time went on, my responsibilities grew, right? The other apprentice left, and at some point, like 2 years into it, I was on my own. I was the only apprentice there, and so all the duties were up to me, until we got another person in under me, and then, you know, a lot of those other tasks that I used to do I got a lot more time to wire and work on bonsai and stuff. But that's pretty common in the process.
Okay, very cool.
Let's see, when did I feel comfortable? Maybe like a year and a half into it. You know, I felt like I could wire sufficiently, and whatever was put in front of me, I felt like I could at least understand and have a chance at. You know?
Yeah. How quickly do you think you started to really understand your teacher's stylistic preferences?
Probably not till like closer to the end, honestly.
Okay.
Like I was only there for 3.5 years, and not towards maybe 2 years into it, 2.5 years into it, did I really was able to recreate a convincing
This could have been done by Taiga type feel to the tree.
No, I mean that's totally. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but at least replicate what he wanted and what he was looking for. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. What Shizuoka is a little bit out in the boonies. So
yeah, kinda it is.
Were you just, whenever I was visiting, they said they had they have a house or apartments that are right next to the nursery. Were you living there and then just you were at the nursery 12 hours a day, or how was it? How was your free time, or how was your time kind of organized?
Yeah, there was they have an apartment building, and I had my own little studio apartment. That was probably a 5-minute walk. And when I wasn't at the garden, I was running errands or doing chores or at the apartment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Was going to Japan a means to an end for you? Whereas I just wanted to get these bonsai skills and this is the place to do it and I go there? Or was it
kind of had a grand vision? Yeah, I had a grand vision. I'm such a hobby kind of person, and before this, I had a normal job, and hobbies were my life. I just loved working on hobbies and doing things, and I kind of needed a complete change in my life personally, and so I kind of just made a change, and I had a grand vision of what I wanted in the end, and that's to be able to work from home and have a family and have my job in the hobby space that I really like doing and
that you were passionate about.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, what is it now, 6 years down the road or whatever, but you look like you got pretty much that exact setup going.
I know. Living the dream, honestly.
Yeah,
Very grateful. I really wanted to be able to have my now wife. We talked about what could this mean for us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of on track to the grand vision.
That's super cool. So it wasn't a spur of the moment thing. It was hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to extract the skills that I need.
Yeah.
And
I can
learn
start my own business.
Yep,
I can work from home. And that means this and this and this, and we can do this, and
Very cool.
And it's a lot of effort, but it's kind of coming together slowly but surely.
Just like a bonsai tree?
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't happen overnight. It's taken many, many years to get here, and I'm not even there yet, but I'm getting there. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you though, a few of my podcast guests, I've talked to them about kind of the sense, the Japanese aesthetic that they get from studying or being in Japan and looking at trees there. Mm-hmm. Do you think that you were able to, to me, your trees look very similar style. A lot of the junipers, for example, I guess, which I've been looking at, look very similar stylistically to Taiga's work. And so it seems like you've picked up that Japanese aesthetic and sense and feel for what a bonsai tree should look like, and the scale and proportion and design and flow. Do you think you have more of a Japanese focused aesthetic, or do you think there's other influences on your aesthetic, like your kind of U.S. based upbringing?
Yeah,
how do you think that's
definitely
affected you?
Japanese inspired? But really, working in Japan has just giving me the skills to kind of find my own style that I like and that makes sense to me, and it's allowed me to be able to express that onto paper. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been something that I think you have a great ability to do is make the right design for the tree, as opposed to
I put a lot of effort into
to applying
having the
one
same,
template to apply to one tree, right?
Yeah, and so I definitely try very hard to style the tree with the given tree in mind. Like I don't want to have a style that every tree is styled the same. Like I don't want a white pine and the black pine and a juniper to all have the same style, or even like all black pines to have the same style. Like there's semi-cascade and informal upright, and I want every tree to be to feel natural for that individual tree, rather than just a formal upright looks like this and a semi-cascade looks like this.
Yeah. I mean, you can see that in your garden too. Thank you. So what was the biggest challenge in Japan then? And then what was the biggest challenge when you got back?
For me, the biggest challenge, I mean, it's just everything being over there, because it's not just one thing. It's kind of everything like compounding on each other, like the language and the food and the amount of time spent working and the lack of time I had for myself. It's everything combined that just really made the whole experience really difficult. I probably struggled the most with the language.
Did you like Japan?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to experience a lot of it. A lot of my time was spent working. But yeah, I love being there. It's a really cool place, and I got a lot out of it for sure. Let's see, the most difficult thing coming back is probably staying focused in bonsai. But I don't know if that's bonsai related or just a struggle I have personally. It's just easily distractible. That's something I struggled with over there, is just like discipline to staying focused and working on one thing at a time.
Yeah. Well, I guess over there, though, at least there's somebody who's above you that's going to enforce it usually, right? Yeah. And so, whereas here, it's now like you're the boss. So.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to be on you to go, do this or that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I like that too. But it is a challenge for me to stay focused and keep my eyes on the prize.
Yeah. Well, at least your golf game gets better if you're a little less focused on one side. So there's that upside. Okay, that makes sense. So anything else you want to call out about your experience in Japan, or what made it so unique? Well, actually, I have one more question about it.
Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit about what impact having your garden build trees and work with clients for the biggest shows like Kokofu had? Obviously, that time of year you were doing certain things, but do you think that changed the experience at the nursery, that your garden was so involved with one of the premier shows, or you think that is pretty standard across the higher tier nurseries?
Yeah, I think it's pretty standard. It's important for the professionals to be involved in that kind of thing. Just like the expo here, right? It's important to be involved in it and to harbor the community. And it's, you're building a clientele and a brand. And, if you're involved in the shows and your clients win and participate, then other people see that, and it brings in new customers and clients, and on the world stage too, right? Bonsai in Japan is not just in Japan. Everybody in the world is seeing what's going on, online and the magazines and all the shows and everything. And so it's much more of a, all eyes on you kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And then, do you think Taiga's he's very well known internationally even too, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Do you think that, it sounded like that didn't necessarily influence your decision to study there? You were like, hey, this is the type of trees that I want to see, but do you think that has had impacts for you down the line in your, starting your career here, or just interactions you've had?
I hope so.
That kind of being associated with his brand to some extent, right?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. I feel like I don't try to, use him as a selling point to what I'm doing. You know, I want to be able to, whatever I'm doing, to stand on its own.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You know what I mean? That's just where, you know, I studied and learned, and where I get a lot of my, you know, teaching and philosophy and on Japanese bonsai.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so transitioning a little bit from the Japanese side of things, and kind of coming to...
And that's just a quick...
Yes.
Quick.
Well, I mean, is there anything else you wanted to dive deeper into there? Anything you wanted to...
There really is a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I would love to hear more stories of times in Japan, or like things that came up that were, you know, unique or funny, or like moments where you were like, wow, I really got a lot of learning in that moment. Like that was tough. Like I had it was a tough lesson to learn, but that really stuck with me, and now I always do that correctly, or something like that, you know? Any moments like that you can kind of think back on?
Like the moments I think back on were probably like negative moments, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because those really stick with you.
Yeah, those really stick with you. And, you know, I feel like probably the biggest thing that I probably transcribe into my own now business is it's important to make mistakes. And I think that's so important in the learning process, because it was so important for me. Like, if I made a mistake, it was a big deal, but that mistake helped me learn so much quicker and to, you know, be able to do it correctly and right the next time.
Yeah.
And so I really try to let, you know, mistakes be a huge part of the learning process and what I'm doing now, especially with wiring and teaching wiring. I think, you know, you can learn and watch thousands of hours of bonsai content and, you know, watch somebody wire and understand, you know, what connections to make and what size wire to use and yada, yada, yada. But unless you actually do it, it's completely different, you know? And I just don't think... I think most of what you learn is just by doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I try to implement that in the way that I approach bonsai now, as far as teaching goes.
Yeah. Or there's only so much you can learn, even with a really detailed, in-depth video and stuff like that. Like, you only kind of scratch the surface if you don't have the doing experience to go along with it, right?
Yeah. That's really important. You gotta, I mean, everybody learns different, which I'm, you know, learning, and everybody approaches things differently. And there's a lot to be learned from books and videos and everything else. But bonsai really is like a do hobby. I think you learn the best from doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how they do it in Japan, and that's where it's the best, so it makes sense.
That's how I learned, and that's how I'm taking that approach.
Yeah. Well, what I've found too is when I pair doing with thinking, that like I watch a video, take notes, and then I do that thing. And then I come back and I watch the video again, or I look at my notes, and I get a whole nother level of depth that I can scrape out of that video.
Yeah, that's great. And, you know, I think everybody learns differently. Like, even when I was in school, I never took notes. Like, I didn't learn from taking notes. And so that's not an important part of how I learn, you know? So I just think everybody learns differently and at their own pace.
Yeah.
But you know, bonsai is a do thing, and I think that's how you learn the most.
Adam Toth quote, bonsai is a do thing.
Do. More doing.
So I've really appreciated that about taking classes with you, is that you're not afraid to like sternly correct an issue, right?
I'm
and
trying
those
to get
things
better
really
about
stick
that.
with me.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to get better about that.
I mean, I think you do have to be careful of, like, not everybody wants that kind of teaching, right?
Yeah, that's
like,
a big thing I'm learning. Like this, you know, the hobby is different for everybody, and everybody wants what they want differently out of the hobby.
They might not respond the same way to the same input from you.
Not.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
Exactly.
And even how much they even care about learning everything or doing bonsai correctly or at the most top level or being the best or whatever, right? So everybody has their own individual goals, and teaching is very new for me. Like, I've only been doing that for 3 years now, and you know, every time I in teaching, I learned something about teaching.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm always adjusting.
Yeah. Yeah, and whenever you were in Japan learning bonsai, you weren't really learning how to teach it.
No.
You were learning how to do bonsai, and
Yeah.
now that you're back, you have to translate that into
Totally.
a system that you can
Yeah.
use to, because in the U.S. a lot of bonsai is teaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of your clients want to learn too, right? So
Yeah,
it's an interesting kind of dynamic.
totally.
Yeah, but I guess what I was saying about that though is that for me that, like, yes, it doesn't feel good when you're like, oh, you messed this up, like you need to redo that.
Yeah.
But it sticks with me and I get better. And so, like, to me, when I'm serious about improving, I feel like that has helped me improve at a more rapid pace than
Yeah,
if somebody's
good.
like, oh, that's okay, like it's fine. Like, then if you just say like, oh, that's wrong, but maybe next time do it better, that doesn't hit the same way as like, that's incorrect, like this is unacceptable, you need to redo it.
Yeah.
That hits differently for me at least.
Totally. And so what I'm learning as a teacher is to just better understand, each person as an individual. And I'm trying to be good about, listening to how they need and want to learn and being able to adjust that for each individual person. Definitely not a strong suit, but I'm trying to get better at it. And it's something that I'm hoping to get better with as time goes on. But yeah, I think everybody, wants and needs something a little bit different to learn. And, that's my job, right, is to help facilitate that in each individual person.
Totally.
Yeah.
Would you, in your ideal world, would you change the shape of your business at all in terms of, probably a lot of it is related to teaching and, workshops and demos and things like that now, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but would you want to shift that more to like, just doing straight client work more frequently? Or like how would you ideally, what would your business makeup look like?
So, in an ideal world, like I wouldn't have to water every day. Like I would have somebody watering for me and doing all the bullshit work that I don't really want to do, but I need to do, and that leaves me more time to work on, fun and good trees and just make better bonsai. But it's just me back here. And so, I have to not just do what needs to be done in the whole garden, but, dishes and the laundry. And I have a little baby, a little kid now, and so that takes up a lot of time, and parenting and housework and this and that. It's everything, and so in an ideal world I would have more time to do the fun, interesting bonsai work that I want to be doing more of, but that's life, so it is what it is.
How do you think of like making and selling trees in the context of your business? Like, do you envision that being a large portion of your kind of revenue, or is it more focused on like teaching and working?
Yeah, I think in, doing work, I'm going to do whatever I see the opportunity
makes
to
sense.
do. Like, if there's something I see that I can, put a few years into and then turn around and sell it for a profit, then I'm going to do a little bit of that. If I have good students and they want to learn, I'm going to do that. Kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just wasn't sure if that was like your desired state or just, but
I think I'm on track.
I think you do like
a
little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think I do a little bit of everything. Maybe having more space for, bigger and nicer trees would be nice in the future. Nice. I'm just kind of taking it, as it comes and adjusting and doing what I see.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And I think you're filling in a niche in the Bay Area. I mean, I think you're getting more well known as well for your kind of shohin and mame work, which has been really cool to see.
So that is one thing that I spent a lot of time thinking about while I was over there. Like, how can I do something? Where can I fit in American bonsai and like in the business aspect of it? And I think I've been, trying to focus in on small trees.
We don't have there aren't a lot of people focused. I can't even think of one making, there's not a lot of people making Japanese level shohin bonsai in the US.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely a niche for that. And from a business perspective, those are the most easily sellable, most desirable, most shippable of
Yeah.
trees, right? So there's definitely
Totally.
a niche and money to be made there.
I mean,
which
there's
is
a
cool.
market there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you found that since you started kind of marketing some classes and work towards Shohin, like it's been a big bump for you, or
Well, I
like
mean,
people
I
are
have
responding well to that?
Yeah, I think so. Like, you know, I fell in love with smaller trees while I was in Japan, and I think a lot of people like small trees, and they're satisfying to work on and cool and interesting and fun. But yeah, I think people are liking it, and I started a little Shohin study group at my place, and people have been really liking that and have been improving on their small trees. I'm hoping it continues in that direction.
Yeah, I think that's definitely got legs for sure.
Yeah.
So I think that'll continue to do well. I'm excited for all the work that you do on Shohin junipers and kind of me and you are starting some grow projects for Shohin junipers. So I'm excited to see what those turn out to be in the next, 5, 10
to 20
years.
yeah.
10 to 20, yeah.
It's going to be fun. I think there's a lot of new people starting projects, and I think there's going to be a lot of great material in the future. And hopefully it allows us to learn more as a group, and it gives us more opportunity to make better trees as a whole.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So
transitioning a little bit, I wanted to ask you about, we've got two kind of, I feel like, I don't know how to, maybe like catchphrases in the Bay Area where people say like, traditional bonsai is thrown around a lot as like a derogatory term, and then also instant bonsai is thrown around as a derogatory term sometimes. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on like, maybe what do those two phrases mean to you, and go a level deeper on those phrases to see whether the hate is merited or not.
traditional bonsai, when I think of traditional bonsai, is just probably, how the Japanese approach bonsai styling and showing and containers and styles. And then instant bonsai is something that I don't see something as bonsai as being instant, really. I think bonsai is a long-term process that takes many, many, many years, and I just don't see a lot of that going on.
Yeah. Makes sense. I also I don't hear anybody, I've never taken a class where somebody's like, oh, we're going to do instant bonsai today. Yeah. Maybe like a bonsai, whenever you're just, you have that beginner workshop where, you've got your little jade plant, and you're trying to like reel in people who've never done bonsai before, right?
Well, I think really what it is like, new and beginner people, I just don't think they realize how long things actually take, in the growing process or the developing process or even the ramifying process. Like, it can take 20 years just to grow branches, once you have a nice trunk. It can take, decades on top of that to get some nice branching in there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you was, do you think there's certain like idiosyncrasies or things that you do kind of unique in your process that were kind of passed down to you through the kind of Taiga and Kimura school of bonsai? Like, do you think there's things that school of bonsai does a little bit differently? It could be aesthetically, like, oh, the shape of our pads is like this, or even just like process oriented, like how you make bonsai. Do you think you have enough context on like how other nurseries make trees or how other professionals make trees that you could say like, our approach is a little bit different because we do X?
So I think,
like, what are the hallmarks of, your bonsai and through that, the teachings that you've gotten? That's a tough one, I know.
Yeah, describe that. I think, how the definition of my pads could be something.
Yeah, for sure. I think within that school, there are designs that have a lot more smaller pads and broken up spacing compared to...
Well, I'm looking at a juniper right now.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like this could be, like, I designed that. I shaped that, and I think it's pretty obvious.
I think that wouldn't be necessarily out of place within Taiga's garden, though.
Totally.
You would be like, oh, this looks a little different, but
totally,
it would blend in to some extent. Right?
That's what I meant. Like,
yes.
This tree.
So I guess
how do I describe that? I don't know.
If we're breaking that down.
I'm not even good at describing in words, let alone. That's why I like hosting at my house because I have a lot of examples to
you
show.
Can show.
You know what?
Yeah,
I'm much better at teaching through examples and showing rather than explaining words.
Yeah, I've actually noticed that in your demos and things like that have gotten better over the years as you have more stuff to show as examples, right, of the different steps of the process.
I like to show examples.
Yeah. The last time you came to the East Bay Club, I think maybe you're talking about Shohin, and you had a lot. You came with like 20 trees, you know.
Yeah.
And it was really informative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess how would you describe that, and how is it different than other trees?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I've always thought of the work as pretty dynamic. Like there's lots of movement in the primaries. There's lots of
I definitely try
lots of definition.
Yeah, I think, I concentrate less on, only looking from one angle, the front. It looks perfect in a picture. Like I think while we do view bonsai from the front, I think, it's a very...
Well, when
it's not just a painting, it's like a three-dimensional object.
Yes. Even when we're looking at it from the front, that's not truly 2D. Right?
No, definitely not.
Our eyes pick up a lot different things than when you're at a show than what a picture picks up. Right?
Definitely. Yeah. And I try to emulate that in my work, right? Like showing depth and negative space. Maybe I would say what's different about my work is maybe how pads are laid out. Instead of just very symmetrical and precise.
Well, I think they're still precise, but for example, something you were teaching me today was I had a pad laid out, and then I had a pad right on top of it, and they kind of stair-stepped up in a very even manner, right? And so the tree was very, it was a stylistic choice. But it didn't really match the dynamic nature that we wanted to add to make it interact with the trunk in a more interesting way, right? And so there was this in and out, if you can imagine it, on the podcast of branches where the branch that was right above the bottom branch was in pretty far, and then a branch above that was actually a little bit outward. So there was out and in the silhouette, as opposed to just being a perfectly uniform, helmet-like silhouette. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I know it's I would love to in the future think about that one a little bit. Like, how would you describe your unique? Like, how would people know it's an Adam Toth tree? And then.
Well, that's one thing too that I don't necessarily want exactly. Like, I don't want something. I don't want everyone to be able to look at something that I make and be like, oh, well, this person obviously made this because it's got this, and this.
Yeah, this template or this pattern is stamped out. That's true.
I want it to be and feel more natural than that.
Yeah. I guess when I think of the Pacific Bonsai Expo, I kind of can pick out your work, but maybe because, there's some quality differences in work, and so maybe that's a good thing to be able to pick out.
That's for you to think about.
Okay. All right, that'll be my homework for next meeting. So I guess, what's top of mind for you in the bonsai scene nowadays? Anything, I know you're focused on doing bonsai, but anything that's been an interesting thought that's come up for you, or something interesting that you've seen somebody do stylistically, or where are you getting your inspiration from nowadays?
So I'll be honest, I don't really interact with bonsai social media. I'm not watching videos, or
you're not listening to the podcast.
I listen to some podcasts. I kind of go through modes where I'll listen to some podcasts, but I'm not really on Instagram. I'm not watching YouTube bonsai. I kind of try to go and do what I think is right,
Has that been a challenge for you? I mean, it seems like running a business nowadays, some amount of social media interaction and, that's your word out there on YouTube, and it seems like some of that is almost required nowadays.
I know that is one thing I definitely lack, is engaging the community as a whole. I'm not posting on Instagram regularly. I'm not making videos. I'm not making podcasts. I feel I'm kind of just in my life right now,
Yeah.
You know, like I
Yeah.
have a new family that I'm giving a lot of attention to, and
That sounds like good prioritization.
you know, I hope to make and get back into it. I think it is, you know, essential. So I hope as time goes on, you
Yeah,
know, I
that
can
rat
get back
race is
in
tough though. I mean, I even feel pressure with the podcast. It's like, oh, I post every Wednesday, and now, you know, I got to make sure I have another
Yeah.
episode for the next Wednesday.
A lot of like hobbyists doing really great editing work. Like I just don't have time to edit like that. Like a lot of people are doing really cool work and getting a lot of great engagement, and I guess I'm just trying to focus in on what I can do,
Yeah,
and
your
that's
strengths, and that
that's
makes
just
sense.
like helping people to make better bonsai and learn.
Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I saw some waves that were made by some videos you posted this last summer, as well as this spring, around repotting at some interesting times of year. So there was one video where I think this was a trident in spring that, you know, it already leafed out, and you were kind of repotting it and putting it into a training pot. And then over the summer, you and I did some repots on juniper whips that we were kind of getting ready for the next phase of development. So I wanted you to kind of take folks through, you know, are you repotting all your trees in the summer and the late spring, or you know,
okay.
what's
so
the
in California,
what's
I
behind
feel
that? You know,
like
why are you doing that?
we can get away with repotting early in the winter, like December, January, but in Japan, you kind of, it's like repotting season. It's like you're in full force. 2-3 weeks, it's just, you know, 15 hours a day of repotting, and you do the whole garden in 2 weeks. But this, so like I had a few people who were like talking to me about repotting, and you know, okay, so for one instance, I repotted a Japanese maple in the middle of summer. It was like, you know, I was getting it prepared for a show, and I was putting it into a show pot, and they said, you know, I did this repot, and people were getting mad at me because the tree was gonna die because you're not supposed to repot in the summer or whatever. And I made a video specifically showing that, you know, you can repot in the summer if you need to, if you take certain things into account, and aftercare is important and all that. And recently I posted a picture on my Instagram of, I was working on a trident, and it's just little clump style, and it's not really a finished bonsai yet. It's, you know, trying to slow the tree down and get fine short internodes. And so the tree has already been leafed out, you know, it's March, and so it already pushed its spring push, and I cut all the elongating growth off, and then did a very, very aggressive repot on it. But tridents are just very aggressive, and you know, people are really stuck in a box when it comes to doing things like, you do this at this time, this at this time. But I think if you understand how trees grow and how aggressive you can be with some trees, you know, you're able to kind of, yeah, definitely, right? Like for the trident maple, for instance, or any deciduous, like you can repot after it's leafed out. The whole thing is, you know, you want to be very careful repotting when there's brand new roots. They break very easily, and the tree is very like susceptible to that. But right after the leaves push out, the tree still hasn't made any new roots yet, you know? And so you can repot even if the tree has already leafed out. Like, it's not too late, you know? A lot of the times people will say like, oh, I missed repotting, the tree already is leafing out. And so, you know, I'm just trying to show people that it's, you know, it's okay to repot even after the tree is leafed out, or in the middle of summer, or, you know, there's sometimes that it's not good, but if aftercare is, you know, something that you're taking care of. And
well, and if you know, like, you're not going to have any hiccups with the health of this tree in your garden, because you know, everything's cruising along. Like, you know, you have 5 other tridents that are great. You know, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I like that. I mean, that's definitely been a shift for me, because whenever you're new, especially, it's like, it's really easy to fall back on those rules, and you find out they're a lot more flexible than you think.
Like, let's say,
and sometimes it can be the right choice to,
this pine over here, this lodgepole pine, if something is weak, you know, take it out of the pot, see what's going on with the roots, like open it up a little bit, change the soil out. Is it staying too wet? make some adjustments as needed.
Yep, makes sense.
You know?
So you're not necessarily saying this is the ideal time, but you're saying like, hey, when it makes sense to do this, like and your horticulture is on point, you can do these things. Like it's not like a instant death of the tree if you repot in the summer or something like that, right? Yeah. I guess I had a show last year in October, and the tree wasn't in the show pot, and I repotted right before the show in October, and the tree's fine. Like it didn't skip a beat. It was totally good. Like I was more careful. I didn't like chop off 50% of the roots or something like that. But you know, that was a valid technique to do at the end,
that's
you know, in the
something
fall
that I'm
kind of
actually
time frame,
doing,
and
you know,
the tree was
here
fine with that.
in my own garden. Is just like, maybe I'll have a bunch of one thing. I'll kind of try some different things and see how they respond, you know? Maybe I'll do something really, really, really aggressive to see where that line is. Yeah, exactly. Just to have a better understanding of how something responds in any given situation.
You know, I mean, when it's right for the tree, you don't take a half measure. You do the action that it should be able to support, and you rely on your horticulture to get it through.